Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Hot Toys Marvel 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. Today we are taking a look at none other than Shang-Chi. This guy, this movie, I freaking love, so yeah, I'm really excited to get him out here. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, it not only looks pretty, but it feels really cool. Somehow they've put this rubberized texture on the surface and I'm all for it. I think it works well. Front and center, an image of Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. Down below, Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings, and of course, his name in gold foil. On the side of the box, his name once again in gold foil. Don't love that font though, it kinda reminds me of Comic Sans. Doesn't impact the figure at all, but something that I find a little bit funky. Then the rest of the image from the front of the packaging continued over the side. Around the back, if you couldn't already tell, red and gold. Quite clearly Shang-Chi's color scheme. Plus we do have some logos that kind of look like the pattern on his suit. And some warnings and legal info, plus his name just one more time. It is a slipcover design, so sliding off the slipcover, underneath a lot more gold and that logo that we just saw, but this time it's a lot more visible. Up top and at the bottom, Shang-Chi. Oh, and around the front, an open window showcasing the figure inside. You can probably tell that I'm going at an absolute breakneck pace, and that's because I don't really care about the packaging. I'm all for the figure inside. Plus, I'm a massive Simu Liu fan, all the way back to when he was playing Jung in Kim's Convenience. Love that show, love this actor. So now I finally have a representation of him in 1/6 scale. First in-hand impressions. Oh damn, this guy looks really cool. What we are going to do now though is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first, but look how many accessories there are. The frame is literally full edge to edge and I can't wait to get stuck in. The display base is relatively small in footprint, it's hexagonal. Up top, this glossy gold logo in the middle, and the rest of the base topper is this textured finish, so it's nice and grippy. Around the front, Shang-Chi, but around the edge, translucent red, so when the light hits it, it kinda glows, and I love that. Up top, a multi-jointed flight pole arm, and a spring-loaded waist clamp. Now, there is a little bit of padding, but still, this being spring-loaded, it does really dig into the suit over time, so for me, I'd caution against it. In fact, I probably would have just preferred a crotch grabber, but I guess for kicking and aerial combat poses, this does work. And by aerial combat, I didn't mean dogfighting, I meant flying through the air with the use of the 10 rings. Now we do get some effect pieces for exactly that. Now, one of them has the 10 rings and the other doesn't. That's not because Hot Toys forgot them, it's because they're removable. We will discuss the rings separately though in just a second. Now the effect pieces, they're translucent plastic and they're a little bit more orange towards the bottom, where up the top, straight up translucent. You do of course get two of them, one for either side, and of course we will try these out on the figure. Speaking of blast effects, these are quite literally blast effects. He's blasting someone with the 10 rings, they're exploding off his forearm. As you can see, this one is quite far away, this one is a little bit closer than these ones, they're quite tight together. There's some spikies and some shading of darker orange and translucent yellow plastic. And down below, this piece is removable, so if you just want to display 3 rings on him like he's already shot off 2, you absolutely can. I'm pretty curious to see what these look like on Shang-Chi. This one is kind of a part 1, because the second part comes with Wenwu. They connect together as though they're tearing the rings apart, just like in the movie. There are 2 rings at the top that Shang-Chi is supposed to grip onto. There's some nice scripture and gold paint over the top of that scripture. Then down below, 3 more rings. And if you're counting, we have way more than 10 rings. We have 10 separately, then another 10 on the blast effects, then another 10 on the forearms, and another 5 here. So, 35 10 rings in total. Oh, you are absolutely not wanting for rings, you get so many of them. Now the individual ones, they are all the exact same size, so they're not really meant to be worn on him, they're more either meant to be just displayed around him, or in the effect pieces. I like the scripture on the top, and the metallic copper finish. and around the edges more scripture, but this time painted in silver. This one's a pretty simple one. It's a necklace with the pendant that he got from his mum. That turned out to be the eye of the dragon. You pop it in and it shows you a map of Tarlo made out of water, or at least how to get there. Now the gem is translucent green and kinda looks like there's something in there. Not sure what it's supposed to be, but yeah, looks gem-like. Then up top, a stretchy string. Doesn't really need to be stretchy, but I guess it kinda helps get it over his head. You can stretch it over and then pop it on. Swappable forearms? Oh heck yes, I love the idea of these. I reckon this is the future of swappable pieces in 1/6 scale. Not necessarily with wrist pegs, I would prefer seamless, but nevertheless, you can go with the 10 rings or without them, simply by swapping the forearms. And you don't lose any range of motion, because these have double bend elbows as well. Plus, down below, the same wrist pegs as the other ones. But these ones, they do have skin texture and vein work. Now you have the 10 rings. I'm not sure as of yet which way I'm going, but spoiler alert, I'm leaning towards the rings. How could I not? They're badass. You also get no fewer than 2 bow staffs, and these things, they're actually really long. One of them has translucent sections as though the dragon scales from the Great Protector are glowing, and the other one just painted in metallic red. Honestly, these could have been swap out pieces. You could have just slid off the top piece and slid on the translucent one, because you can see where it's pegged in anyway, but Hot Toys decided, oh no, we're gonna give you 2. And I'm not complaining, more is definitely a good thing when it comes to accessories. Then for the main body, we do have this wood grain print, and from a distance, it actually convincingly looks like wood. And lastly, a full array of hands with some really unique gestures. We've got open palm hands, we've got closed fists and gripping hands, but those are the usual suspects. They're boring. We also have martial arts pose hands like these ones, which for Shang-Chi, they're absolutely essential. We have some wrinkling on the knuckles. You can make out the fingernails and the vein work, plus the paint applications for the skin texture. Second to none. What we are going to do now, though, is get Shang-Chi himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And I remember back in the day when we saw a superhero character for the first time, a lot of people said, no, skip this one, get the next one. You know, this figure, it's going to be them testing things out and trying things, and it's not going to be the ultimate version of that character. But seeing this guy standing in front of me, I kind of want to say it is the ultimate version, because this suit looks stunning. It's metallic, it's reflective, there's texture, there's surface detail, and that head sculpt, even from a distance, it looks scarily real. Then the icing on the cake, the proportions. For the most part, they're exceptional. He's big and bulky where he needs to be, but slim down in other areas, because this guy's a martial artist, he's not really supposed to be all that huge. Which does lead me on to one kind of glaring negative. It's not a huge deal for me, but it may be for you. His pecs are really large, and yes, we will discuss his pecs in a lot more detail in just a second. Up close and personal, kicking things off with Shang-Chi's head sculpt. And what a head sculpt this is, it is so impressive. The likeness to Simu Liu, absolutely there, I think, from pretty much every angle. There is both sculpted and painted skin texture, a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow, and some freckles and moles, which Simu does have. The expression is stern, he's got this subtle furrowed wrinkled forehead, and his eyebrows are tilting down. So you can tell this guy is about to kick some serious butt, but still can see a little bit of compassion in the expression. Now the head sculpt is separate from the neck, but honestly that seam line, it's not a huge deal. From the front, you can barely even see it. The neck does have some wrinkling sculpted in, which is kinda crazy, because you can't see it anyway, it's tucked underneath the collar. The collar does ride a little bit high, but don't forget, his outfit's fabric, so you can futz it if you want to. And that's just the head sculpt. His hair is beautifully done. It's got this coif to it, it's big, it's full of body and volume, and I love the way it's sculpted to the side like this. You can see the waves and all the individual strands of hair. Plus, up underneath, you can even see a little bit of shadow where the individual strands of hair would be coming down onto the forehead. What I'm trying to say, and I think I've articulated it well, is I love this head sculpt. That may just be the longest time I've ever spent gushing about a head sculpt, but so worth it. Trust me, when you get this guy in hand, that is Jung or Shang-Chi through and through. Now, as for the outfit, he's got that pattern on the front like we saw on the box, and there are multiple layers here. It kind of looks like one shirt, but it isn't. It's actually a base layer shirt with the 3/4 length sleeves and over the top, a vest. Now, my friend Will was saying that his pecs look really big, and yeah, they do. They also sit a little bit low, but Simu Liu, he's a big dude. He has big pecs, so I think this body actually works for him. He's got the V tapered at the waist, he's nice and broad at the shoulders, and he does have the suggestion of traps underneath the outfit. So for me, I like the proportions. I don't have any complaints with the body. I can see where some people wouldn't like it though, and who knows, maybe you can pose it away, maybe you can modify it or futz with the outfit, but for me, I'm happy. Now, the fabric is textured with these little diamonds screen printed on the surface, and there's also this kind of base layer of shiny red. Now, the actual fabric is this stretchy spandex, but be careful, I wouldn't stretch it. Don't stress out the outfit, because this rubbery fabric, it tends to pinch, it tends to buckle, and could potentially tear over time. We also have some black stripes up here on the shoulders with some patterns sculpted or printed in, and around the back, a bunch more of that dragon scale, and also some more line work and patterns. There's a lot going on just for the shirt alone. Forearm time? Yep, it absolutely is, and we have multiple options. The first of which is just regular forearms. There's a bunch of skin texture, there's some speckling on the surface to mimic complexion. We have some vein work, and there is a decent level of sculpt here, but there aren't any rings, and come on, we have to display Shang-Chi with his rings. But before we do, I really like the gap for the wrist peg. It's super tiny, but still affords you a decent range of motion. That's more like it. He's got the rings, and yeah, these are the forearms I'm going with in the collection. There's still skin texture, there's still vein work, but over the top, 10 rings. Now, they do scale down in size towards his wrist, and I kind of wish the bottom one was free-floating so you could cover the wrist peg. Then these forearms would look almost entirely seamless, except for that little gap around the back, but it's not a huge deal because it's tucked up under the sleeve anyway. Then on the other side, part 1 of the blast effect. Now, this does separate and you have to slide it on, but there is a lot of friction here, and there's no padding because it's translucent plastic. They want it to be translucent. So that means it's sitting on the painted forearms, so if you do move it around, there is potential for some scuffing and scratching. Even more so when you pop this thing on, because it's got some clamps that literally just slide over the forearm, and you can see the wrist peg because you can't pop his hand on the inside. At least the instructions, they tell you not to. So yeah, I'm not going with these because I just don't want to scratch up the forearms, but if you want to, yeah, this is totally an option. What an absolute unit. Look at this badass standing here with the 10 rings circling around him in flames. I love this, but at the same time, these are really heavy and there is still no padding on the forearms, so sliding these on and sliding them around, the potential for damage is absolutely there, and it stresses me out. So as cool as this looks, once again, I'm not going for this option in the display, I'm just going for the forearms with the 10 rings on. Coming down to the pants, they are so simple. They're literally black, relatively tight tapered pants, and along the front, a stitched in panel line, just to, add some more visual interest. Then for his shoes, we do have some socks underneath. Always love when they do that. And the shoes themselves, they look good. They're nicely sculpted, there's this leather grain texture on the surface, the laces also sculpted, and for the soles, multiple colours. You've got white around the edge with some dirt and grime, because these aren't brand new, and on the underside, some tread. These kind of look like Nikes. Please, let me know what kind of shoes that Shang-Chi was actually wearing in the movie in the comments section. Why did I just do a snap transition? Well, you can use the effect pieces with his feet as well, and yes, the instructions officially sanction this, so it's a proper display method. You slide them on and they sit in position relatively securely. Now, they are heavy, and maybe that's why they went with a hinge and swivel for the ankle joint, more on that a little bit later, but having him doing a flaming 5-ring kick of doom, I absolutely love this. Very quickly, while we're on the subject of alternate display options with the effect piece on his foot and all, yes, you can have him wearing the pendant his mum gave him. You simply take off the head sculpt, slide the necklace over the neck, and pop it back together. Now for me, I'm not going to do this because we never saw the necklace again after they used it to reveal the map to Ta Lo, but still, if you want to, you can. For a quick side-by-side comparison, I was really hoping Wenwu would be here because Shang-Chi's dad and the real Mandarin, but stepping in, we have Trevor, aka the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. Trevor is shorter than Shang-Chi, but that's accurate to IRL. Ben Kingsley is 5'8" and Simu Liu is 5'11". So the scaling, to me at least, looks bang on. And now that Trevor has kind of been redeemed by Shang-Chi, I have no problem whatsoever displaying these two side by side in the collection. For now. Until the actual Mandarin gets here. Next up, Captain Marvel, and I know, it's not the correct outfit. Y'all probably would go with the Endgame version, but she had long hair at the end of Shang-Chi, but she was wearing the Endgame suit, so canonically it should be kind of a kit bash of the two looks. Nevertheless, as you can see, she's shorter than Shang-Chi. Hey, this is a weird one, but it kinda works, cause you know, they interacted at the end of Shang-Chi. Plus, for now, it's the only official Hot Toys Bruce Banner. Maybe one day they'll make a new version with his shorter hair, but I can totally do this in the collection. I can do an end of Shang-Chi display. He also is a little bit shorter than Shang-Chi. Going over articulation. On paper, pretty simple, right? It's a partially fabric suit and a muscular body. Actually, no. There are a couple of areas that you will need to be a touch more careful, because there's rubbery fabric and there's a lot of padding. Starting off with the head sculpt, it's on a separate articulated neck, ball peg at the bottom and double ball peg at the top. Combined, looking forward to there, looking back to there, decent range for aerial combat poses, swivel and pivot side to side. The arms will go up to there, going forward and back, butterfly joint at the shoulder that hinges up and down, swivel at the bicep, double bend at the elbow, but that's a lot of pinching and bunching, so please, just be careful. Then for the wrist peg, a hinge and swivel with ratchets. The torso will crunch forward and back, swivel and pivot, limited by the multiple layers and the padding. The legs will go forward to there, going out to there with no padding, swivel at the upper thigh, ratcheted double bend at the knee going past 90. Then normally we'd have a double ball peg for the ankle, but this time, for some reason, it's a hinge and swivel. So you can either have it going forward, or you can use that same hinge to angle it on the side for ankle tilt. But either way, you will get swivel. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is, Hot Toys, if you're doing swap out forearms, please include a third set, because you totally could have included seamless ones. We've got the 10 rings versions, we've got the ones with the articulated hands, and the icing on the cake would have been fully seamless pre-posed options as well. The second annoying thing is that the effect pieces don't come with their own rings, you have to attach them. Normally that would be fine, but they're held in place purely by friction. So if you take them in and out multiple times, you could wear out that crevice that they slide into. And after a couple of times using this, the rings may not potentially sit in there as securely as they do now. The third annoying thing, Shang-Chi's kicks. They look good, but they don't really work super well. Number one, they don't have any toe articulation, and we've seen them do that with figures wearing sneakers in the past. And number two, they're high tops, but they're not that high. They absolutely could have gone with a double ball peg. But they didn't. They did a hinge and swivel. So that means you have to choose. You want them hinging forward and back? Okay, but you can't also tilt them at the same time. The first cool thing, we have so many options for the rings. We've got multiple blast effects, we've got the swap out forearms, and we have the rings separately as well. The second cool thing, oh, I have been dying to try this, and it looks every bit as good as I was hoping it was going to. In fact, it looks so good that I'm tempted to display him like this permanently. What have I done? Well, I picked up a set of seamless forearms by Worldbox, and what do you know? They're compatible, and now this guy is fully seamless from head to toe, except of course for the neck connector. Now, they're not 100% perfect. The skin tone is slightly lighter than the head sculpt, but there's a big distance between the forearms and the head sculpt, so to me at least, it's not super noticeable. Now, it's a bit of a faff to get them on. You have to remove this joint from the stock forearms, heat them up and simply pop it out, but when you do, you can pop these on and they sit in there really securely. Plus, you still have full access to the full range of motion of the double bend elbows. The third cool thing, cop-out time. I know, going with the head sculpt, it is a cop-out, but still, this head sculpt is every bit as good as I was hoping it was going to be. It looks just like Simu Liu, that is Shang-Chi through and through. plus the expression, the skin texture, the paint applications, the freckles, the moles, it's all there. So yeah, I am one happy collector. Wrapping up on Hot Toys Shang-Chi. It's honestly been a while since I unboxed a Hot Toys figure and my first thought was, wow, but that's what this guy did for me. He is genuinely that good. Now, he's not perfect, so let's get all the negative stuff right out the way first. Number one, you can see his elbow joints around the back because his 3/4 length sleeves are 3/4 length, so they don't entirely cover them. There aren't any seamless forearms, and his pecs, they're kinda big and they do sit a little bit low. But everything else, I can either live with or is smooth sailing. I mean, even those ankle pegs being the hinge and swivels, I now know why they did that, because when you pop the effect pieces on, they're really heavy, so they needed really sturdy joints to hold them up. I still would have rather double ball pegs, but like I said, something I can live with. I love the various display options for the 10 rings, the effect pieces, the blast effects, and the rings separately, plus the swap out forearms. They went all out for the first version of Shang-Chi. I didn't expect them to. Normally they'd hold stuff back for a potential future version, but they didn't. This guy, he delivers the goods. And the icing on the cake? That head sculpt might just be one of the best head sculpts I've ever seen from Hot Toys. Not just in terms of likeness and paint applications, but realism. It literally looks like a real dude. There's something about it, it jumps all the way past the uncanny valley and lands somewhere in the field of realism. So what I'm trying to say, what all my gushing is about is, this guy's a work of art, and Hot Toys, you guys should be really proud of your work, because I'm really proud to pop this guy in my collection. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have installment plans and a reward system. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.